Good morning. It's your executive producer, Whitney Pastrick. And before we start today's show, we've got some election results for you in the Tennessee 7th Congressional District special primary election. On the Republican side, former Tennessee General Services Commissioner Matt Van Epps, who was endorsed by President Trump, handily won the nomination with over 50% of the vote. His closest competitor was State Representative Jody Barrett. And on the Democratic side, State Representative Afton Bain beat a tight field with Darden Copeland, State Representative Bo Mitchell, and State Representative Vincent Dixie trailing her in that order, although Dixie handily won Davidson County by over 1,000 votes. The general election will take place on December 2nd, with early voting starting on November 12th. The deadline to register for the general election, if you live in District 7, is November 3rd. We'll have full analysis on this week's Friday News Roundup. And now, on with the show.
Today on CityCast Nashville, have you ever really looked at our Metro seal? It's on our city flag, service vehicles, Nashville merch, but what does it mean and could we do better? District 13 City Council member and flag nerd Russ Bradford joins me and our executive producer Whitney Pastrick to discuss. It's Wednesday, October 8th. I'm your host, Marie Cecile Anderson, and this is what Nashville's talking about. The current seal of the metropolitan government of Nashville and Davidson County is something.
As former Nashville Scene columnist and deeply missed local genius J.R. Lind once wrote, it's the circle with the Native American fellow looking at a skull and standing next to a tobacco plant while an eagle tries to pick up his litter behind him. We've all seen it. Russ is wearing a hat with the seal on it right now.
Well, it was designed in 1963 after the city of Nashville and Davidson County created the first consolidated government in the country. Russ, this is going to be fun. Please describe the current seal and tell us what you think it means.
So the current seal is basically designed to look kind of like a compass with all the various points going in every direction, which was, from everything I've been able to see, it was supposed to point to the fact that Nashville is kind of at a nexus of, the railways, the roads. Look at all the pikes and everything that branch out from Nashville. You have the fleur-de-lis, which was supposed to be a stylized version of the iris, and also a representation of our French background, sitting at true north, again, going back to that compass. Now, here's where you get a lot of differing opinions, is who the heck is the Indian? Was he a real person? Who does he represent? What's going on here? I like the reference in the article from 2019 about that this was probably the first Nashville Shakespeare Festival performance in city history.
Yorick.
But it's like,
I knew him.
Yes, I knew him well, though we don't know him now. Hence why we're having this conversation. You've got the imagery of the American eagle, the shield representing the United States. Some would say the tobacco plant represents either agriculture or commerce. But when I talk to folks, there's one individual here in Nashville that I talk to a lot about city history. That's David Ewing. And I kind of say, if he doesn't know it, then nobody knows it. And I've asked him several times if he knows of anything or any meaning behind the seal or the imagery. And he's at a loss for words, just like the rest of us.
On the city's website, it says that the history and meaning of the old Nashville city emblem of the Native American Indian holding the skull is not known. And they tell a story that this Native American Indian was identified as the famous Cherokee leader, Chief Oconostota, the Great Warrior of Chota. And it's supposed to be symbolizing implements of war that he and General James Robertson buried between them in a ceremony of peace. There's only one problem with that, which is that actual Metro historian and friend of the pod, Carol Busey, told WPLN that by all accounts, that chief and James Robertson never met. J.R. Lind has also debunked every theory about that. So there's this Native American guy, and he's holding the skull. Russ referenced Hamlet. It's,
It really is. To be or not to be.
The seal is very like, oh, it's infinite jest. That's what our seal is. Carol Busey's best guess in 2016 was that the skull is meant to represent the indigenous burial grounds scattered throughout the Cumberland Basin. We've certainly had Albert Bender on the show sharing the history of Nashville's indigenous people and the great city, the great trade capital that was built here long before us white folks came along. But Carol Busey also says that it may also just be a memento mori, which is a reminder that we're all going to die. So that's fun.
That's cheerful.
Well, it's funny because this discussion of our seal comes up every few years. So in 2021, former Metro Council member Colby Sledge tweeted, "It's just kind of weird." Russ, why does this matter to you?
I'll say in full disclosure, when my former colleague did that in 2021, I was kind of the camp of, if it ain't broke, why fix it? Like, leave it. It's a city seal. But, when you look at it and then you talk to other folks, you kind of think of, well, if you don't know what it means, then why are we celebrating it? And why I'm kind of taking this up now is we've got a couple of big dates coming up in city history. Nashville itself was founded in 1779, so we're 4 years away from our 250th anniversary of being founded as a settlement. The city of Nashville was incorporated in 1806, so next year will be our 220th birthday. And so we are very old. And so when you look at other cities and other states across the country that have changed their flags, city of Jackson, Tennessee, to celebrate their big centennial celebrations, they changed their flag as a way of saying, all right, out with the old, in with the new going forward. So I think this is a good time to really start these conversations about updating our city icons and our seals and our flags to kind of represent us going to that new age, that new century.
Well, let's start really quickly with the shirt that you're wearing. Listeners at home can't see it, but it is very clearly celebrating the city flag of Chicago, which I think a lot of folks have seen, possibly on bumper stickers from people who have moved down here. But, it's a white field with 2 horizontal baby blue lines and then 4 red stars in the center. It's incredibly iconic. You know what it is immediately, even if you've never lived there. I don't know that the same thing could be said for ours.
Same thing with Washington, D.C. Everybody knows that flag by the sight. New York City has a flag, and everybody, when they see those flags, they automatically, oh, that's the city name here.
Oh, right. Well, we could just put Taylor Swift on our Nashville flag.
We could.
No? Okay.
I will point out that my normal Houston supremacy, we don't do a whole lot better down in Houston. We also just have a blue flag with the city seal on it. But our city seal is way less mysterious. It kind of just has a train on it. We could also have a train in our Nashville seal.
Oh, but that would be misleading.
Not a public transportation train, Marie. We're talking about the trains that block traffic when you're trying to get somewhere.
Okay. Or the Tesla tunnel. We could do that in the future. Maybe not.
Wait, we'll get to that later. Okay, Russ, you've designed some alternative flags. We'll put these on our Instagram so everybody can check them out. Tell us about these flags and what your artistic process was.
So, thinking about changing the flag, well, if we want to include a seal, that's kind of where we start with the seal first. That way, if we want to include that on a flag,
we're going to get rid of the Native American playing Hamlet.
Right. And so what I would like to see, and as we go through this process, and we can talk about processes later, but kind of thinking of symbols that when people see them, they know what they mean. For example, a Greek-style temple in the middle of it to represent that we are the state capital, that represents government. I've put 3 stars on the temple to represent that we are the Tennessee capital, with an American eagle on top, drawing in the fact that we're a U.S. city. But then there's the imagery of like a Greek harp. We are Music City, so bringing the music into it. The imagery of the medical symbol, the staff of Hermes, because we are a big healthcare city. Then in the middle of the temple is the flame of knowledge, because we are a big education area.
This is the more formal seal that you've designed, right? So we'll put these on our Instagram so everybody can check them out. But, it's that kind of classic design look. The fleur-de-lis and compass is still here.
Yeah, I like those. And I think it's a very dynamic shape. Just change the inside.
Right. But then you've also got some slightly more modern takes, and I'm looking and seeing a lot of resemblance to the Tennessee state flag, where the 3 stars in a circle. Tell us about those.
If we want to be efficient and keep our flag the way it is and just change what's in the middle, take the seal out, put in the Tennessee TriStar. Simple fix, easy done, boom, get out the door.
Except you and I both know, Russ, how often people get into TriStar trouble because they are incapable of properly aligning where the stars should be.
That is true. There's a particular way they're supposed to be aligned. I want to say it's like 89 degrees or something like that. And I think it's in this Tennessee Constitution how it's supposed to be.
And I see that you've incorporated that logo onto a guitar pick, for example, a guitar splitting a blue and yellow field. I like that one. That's really cute. I also like this one with the squiggly lines like a river. Ultimately, it seems like you've played around with a lot of different directions that we could go.
Well, and the one you mentioned, like that's kind of a double symbolism. Like it looks like a river, but there's multiple lines, so it looks like a music bar.
Oh.
Beautiful.
Russ, I am going to guess that you are an amateur vexillologist. Is this correct?
That is correct. I'm actually a member of the North American Society.
So vexillologists are people who are obsessed with flags.
We're flag nerds. Think of, Sheldon from Big Bang Theory and his little TV show.
Wait, when did you start loving flags so much? When did this begin?
I've always enjoyed flags. Like I remember even like in kindergarten when we'd have our time with art and drawing, like I was always drawing flags. And in high school, we had to do this special project where we were given a task. All right, you're founding a colony on the moon and you have to create a government. I was like, I'll do the flag.
That's adorable.
That's
you are such a
amazing.
dork. I love this
I
so
am.
much. Marie, other than Taylor Swift, what do you think the flag should include?
Well, I really love...
Or the seal.
I love your designs, Russ, because yes, I would include some sort of, Parthenon, Athens of the South education, obviously Music City, but also we forget the civil rights movement and how much Nashville made an impact on that. So maybe like a star rising or even a fist in the air. I don't know, something to support like justice, peace.
A broken chain.
A broken chain. Ooh. Yeah.
That's good. We're also, the state and technically the city that gave women the right to vote.
Ooh, yes.
So can we get some suffragette
Maybe a
action
yellow
up in
rose?
here?
A yellow rose. See, you are good, Russ. People would recognize these things and say, oh, yes, that has to do with Nashville versus our Hamlet.
Our Hamlet play.
And that's why what I'm working on right now on the council is, yes, we need to change the flag and the seal, but we kind of need to outline what that process looks like first.
Well, explain that process to us.
So it doesn't have to be a charter amendment. It's just, it could be a simple ordinance to change all this stuff. And I feel like it's very important to get that public input. We're not reinventing the wheel. My home state of Mississippi 4 years ago changed our flag and followed a very public process where you had a commission set up. The commission then accepted entries from anybody. Funny side note, the current Mississippi state flag was designed by someone living in Nashville.
Shut up, really?
He was native from Mississippi who moved up here, was a bar back at a Lower Broadway bar, and he designed the flag, and his flag was the one that was chosen.
Wow.
Ha-ha! We win again, Mississippi.
So stick that in your Trivial Pursuit pipe and smoke it.
That's amazing. But no, I think definitely we would want,
Yeah.
I think Minnesota just did this as well.
Utah.
We would definitely want to have that public contest. And listeners at home, we asked about this in the newsletter, but if you're hearing the sound of my voice, email us at nashville@citycast.fm. Get a piece of paper and some crayons and just draw. I don't need you to be a vexillologist like Russ with his fancy AutoCAD or whatever he's used here, but just
Canva.
draw us what you think would be cool. Oh, it's all in Canva?
Yeah. There are some basic rules people can use that the Vexillology Association has put out there. Keep it simple. Use meaningful symbology, which we've kind of talked about. Try to stick to 2 or 3 colors. And don't include any seals or writing. And at the end of the day, if you can't remember all that, one thing that I've read and I think makes sense is think of a first grader drawing the flag. You want something that they'd be able to draw easily.
That's really cool.
That's fun. I think maybe we should get our children to draw it.
I believe our children are our future.
Ditto.
But again, with the process, like we could do it through the initial setting up of the commission or as we start each process, but set out in stone or set out in the process, like, okay, what are some things we want to keep? Like, do we want to keep the blue and gold coloring?
Well, we have to because the sports teams can't change their
That's kind of why I'm thinking of it, but I do like that color scheme. Or then say, well, do we want to keep the compass motif? What other things do we want to see in the flag? Kind of create that kind of grading scales. Like we want to see references to our civil rights past, our women's suffrage past, state capitol. Like list of some things we want to see kind of integrated. Going back again to Mississippi, they kind of put in there some of the things that were a requirement. You had to keep the red, white, and blue. You had to put in God we trust. The state law pretty much said, here's what we want to be included. And then just let the public kind of decide, all right, here's all your pieces, put it together the way you want.
And then was the winning flag the one that got the most public votes? How did that process work?
So that commission settled on 5 different flags. The one I liked was the one that didn't win.
Oh.
Because I looked at it from a marketing standpoint, that it was going to be the easiest one to market. I think it was called the Big River flag. It was a blue background with like a coat of arms. And the person who designed this flag even did like a big marketing campaign. It's like, here's what this would look like on our state tourism website, on our documentation. Like it was kind of like how Tennessee changed our logo to be the big square with the TN. You see that on everything.
Yeah, I hope they really paid somebody a lot of money to figure out that it should just be a big square with TN in it.
Yeah, they paid a lot of money for such a logo. But yeah, this commission came up with 5 flags out of all the submissions. And then that went to a voter referendum in November 2020. And the current flag was the one that was chosen by the majority of the people in Mississippi.
So is that something that we could do here within the city of Nashville?
So like I said, it's not a charter amendment, so it wouldn't be something that would go to the voters to approve. The most simplest form would be we would do an ordinance that would set up the commission, set up what we're looking for. We could say whatever the commission decides, then we could vote as a council by resolution on which flag we prefer. If we wanted to, it could be a possibility that we could put it to a voter referendum or put it on the ballot if we wanted to. So those are things that I'm going to be meeting with the mayor's office and the historical commission and kind of hash out like, do we want to just do this through the council and just, have the public input be through the submission of designs and have some members of the public on the commission? Or do we want this to be something that is voted on by the public?
Well, I've also been following what's happening in Williamson County about their seal. Have you been following that as well? So do we have an update on whether they're going to be removing the Confederate flag from their seal or not?
I've not heard of anything. My gut is because of how the state law has been written,
right,
that I think any changes they make removing Confederate iconography from their seal would have to be approved by the state board, state historical commission, or whoever does that. And I mean, we saw how long it took them to remove the Forrest bust. So I applaud Williamson County for wanting to modernize their logo and update it, but it's probably not going to be as easy as us because our logo has no Confederate imagery on it. So I don't see us having to do any of that.
So just to be clear, the state doesn't care what anything looks like, but once you've put something Confederate on something, the state cares if you take it off.
That's what it seems like.
Fun.
Well, moving on. Russ, before we go, we would be remiss if we didn't ask you about the Tesla tunnel. You represent District 13, which contains the airport. How's it going over there? And do we have any more answers on what caused the disastrous hours-long traffic jam last month?
So an update on that, the official statement from the airport was that it was basically a series of unfortunate events, that there was a wreck, that TDOT had shut down almost nearly all but one lane of travel on Donaldson Pike. You had people leaving town after a Titans game, and you had 2 large conferences that wrapped up.
But that's just like being an airport, Russ.
And that's been my kind of criticism of all this is, when the conventions are starting and ending, when TDOT is doing their road work, when the Titans are having home games. So why is the airport and others not reaching out and coordinating and say, hey, maybe Monday after we have these 2 big conventions and a Titans game is not the good time for TDOT to shut down our only way into the airport.
Is it possible that my conspiracy theory is true, that the airport authority is in cahoots with the Boring Company and they are creating an artificial disaster to force us to accept the tunnel?
Unofficially, I would not be surprised if that's the case.
Hey! God, that's awful.
Wow.
But that's unofficial.
WeGo has been wanting to do additional buses, and part of the transit plan that was approved would see an increase in buses to the airport. Right now, it's once every hour. They're wanting to make it at least once every 15 to 20 minutes, which would make sense and be beneficial for folks. They need more buses in order to do that. They have to have the staff to drive them. I think there's ways B&A could actually help. I even had a conversation with our precinct commander here in Hermitage Precinct, who said when all that was going on, he reached out to the airports like, what assistance do you need from us? And he said it wasn't until about 9 o'clock that night the airport said, well, thanks for reaching out, but by the time y'all get here, we'll have this taken care of.
How do the people in your district feel about the tunnel in general? I'm assuming it would go under some of them.
It's supposed to go under Murfreesboro Pike, so not technically under any houses or anything. But the overall idea is like if we're going to be digging a tunnel between the airport and downtown, it should be a public transit tunnel. It should be a subway. And that way everybody can use it, not just tourists.
I hope you'll continue to stay in touch with us about what you're hearing over there in your district, because you are, I think Jacob Coopin in downtown and District 19 get a lot of hubbub around this thing, but you're the other end of it. So we want to make sure you stay in our loop, okay?
Yeah, no one from Boring Company's reached out to me yet, so.
Cool.
Huh. Okay.
And meanwhile, listeners, just a reminder, if you want to design a new seal for the city of Nashville that would then possibly be applied to a flag of the city of Nashville, email us, nashville@citycast.fm. We'll make sure to pass your designs on to Russ too. And hopefully we can get this process started. But in the meantime, to be or not to be, that is the question.
Well, Russ, this has been so much fun. I've learned so much in prep for this episode, and I'm very grateful for you. And we will have you back very soon.
I'm looking forward to it.
That's all for today here on CityCast Nashville. And don't forget, you can support this show and get great perks by becoming a CityCast Nashville neighbor at membership.citycast.fm. If you enjoyed the show, why not tell your friends? Rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our Hey Nashville newsletter. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Toodles!